Well, g'day and welcome to the National Virtual Expo. My name is Rob Malicki and this session is on Monash University. Before we kick off, I'm on Gadigal land in Sydney. I'm acknowledging the traditional custodians of this beautiful land on which I live and work. And I'm going to let you know what we're going to be talking about in the next 20 minutes. Before I do that, thank you for those people who are joining me live on the live stream. If you would like to ask a question or put a comment, you can do so in the chat, regardless of whether you're at the Expo Hub, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Great to have your comments, and I'll try to get to all of them at the end of the session. And if you're watching on the replay, you can also ask questions by going to choosing your uni Discord. Details in the session description down below. Ask any question you like, whether it's specifically about Monash or it's more broad or general, or about your personal decision that you're trying to make, and we'll make sure that everybody gets a response to their questions. Parents, you can also ask your questions in our Facebook community, and details for that also down in the session description. So, Monash University, this is an incredible institution, and in the next 20 minutes, what we're going to be talking about is what it's known for, maybe who it's not for as an institution. We'll look at its academic strengths, at its research. We're also going to be looking at different campuses and what kind of experience you might have there. And then we're also going to be looking into the hard data, into the details of how Monash performs on global rankings, but more importantly, how it performs on the national independent data on things like student satisfaction, graduate employment, and graduate starting salaries. And I'm going to take you behind all the hype. There's a lot of marketing hype when it comes to universities, a lot of statistics and data and we're the first in this and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to tell you about how to look at those numbers and figure out whether or not this institution is right for you. But perhaps before we get started, I'd just like to acknowledge our major presenting sponsor, Southern Cross University. This whole virtual expo would not have been possible without their support. So a quick word from Southern Cross, and then we're going to get straight into this session on Monash University.
One day soon, I'm going to be the boss.
And I'm going to teach and empower the next generation.
One day soon, I'll use science to save the planet.
And one day soon, I'll save lives.
Right now, I'm ready to take the first step.
No matter what your goal, choose a pathway at Southern Cross University to transform your future.
Well, I'm going to cherry pick one statistic about Monash University, and that's that it ranks 4th in the world for pharmacy studies. So, not in Australia, in the whole world, it is the 4th most reputable institution on the planet. And that's the kind of institution that we're talking about here today. Monash isn't for everyone, but it has some extraordinary areas of strength. But maybe let's talk about who this is not for. And there are some students that wouldn't be suited to studying at Monash. For example, if you're looking for like an intimate, cozy campus, Monash, with its 70,000 students and its big campuses, may not be the place for you. It's literally Australia's largest university, and you will be a face in a very large crowd unless you make the effort to actually find your people. Now, of course, you're not just going to be studying with everybody, you're going to be studying in your niche academic area, which brings it down a little bit. But these are big institutes, big campuses. So you're going to have to be more proactive at a place like Monash to get the most out of it. It also probably isn't for you if you're looking for a place where you can live in the city and walk to class. The main campus of Monash is at Clayton, 20 kilometres southeast of Melbourne's CBD. So it's a suburban campus. And to be honest, it's a bit of a pain in the backside to, I nearly said it, a bit of a pain to access. You've got to take the train and then you've got to take a bus. Now, the bus network to Clayton is pretty good in general, but depending where you're coming from, that could be one of those things that's a little bit of a pain. The Caulfield campus is more accessible, being right on the main train line. So if you're a kind of hands-off person and you're looking for guidance and support on everything, this might not be your place. But if you are looking for an experience where the number of opportunities available to you is just simply phenomenal. From an academic point of view, it's one of the strongest universities in the country, and where you've genuinely got an opportunity to explore a vast array of academic and extracurricular opportunities, Monash could absolutely be the right institution for you. Oh, and it's like an internationally, globally recognised degree that will not only be recognised here in Australia, but in many places around the world as well. We're going to dive into all those details, but before we do, why don't we hear from a student who studied at Monash University and hear what they say about their experience. What's it been like starting up studies here? So you're in second semester now. What's it been like?
It's been good. There's lots of support networks and stuff like that in place if you need people, especially I know for law with the Law Student Society, there's lots of people you can talk to there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that. So when you say support, Law Student Society, what else? Is the uni pretty good about, giving you access to support?
They're really good with it, especially with the MSA. I guess it depends which party is in. I'm running for Together.
Right.
But now we have implemented lots of support systems for different groups of people, like for the international students and stuff like that, as well for mental health support network systems and things like that. Yeah.
So let me give you my 3 big things about Monash Uni. The first is that the research firepower is genuine. This isn't marketing talk. Monash runs over 120 research centres and institutes, and it has dedicated facilities in biomedicine, energy, and technology. Its pharmacy and pharmaceutical sciences programs is ranked 4th globally, as I've mentioned, and its education faculty is ranked 8th globally. In fact, across all subjects, 21 Monash disciplines sit in the global top 50. That kind of a breadth and depth of research strength and teaching filters down into what you're taught and who's teaching you. This is absolutely an exceptional next level kind of institution on an academic side. Secondly, is the industry connection side of things at Monash, which is really baked into the institution's DNA. It's heavily connected through to industry and innovation. Monash targets having 10,000 students in placements and industry-based experiences every year. So getting industry experience is not an optional extra. It's actually a core in how degrees are designed and the expectation on students. They have over 1,000 industry partnerships. So there's a whole technology precinct on campus dedicated to startups and innovation. If you're that kind of person that wants to understand not only what you're learning, but how that connects to actual work in industry, Monash really takes that seriously. And just an aside here, Monash does have a really strong presence in the AI space, is really thinking hard about that. The world is changing so fast in terms of that and how AI is impacting work and careers. And so we've got a whole series of dedicated sessions just about AI and how it's impacting jobs, careers, how it's impacting your experience in the classroom, and also on things like AI fundamentals and safety. Those are delivered by the University of New England, and you'll find the details in the session catalogue. Absolutely essential viewing, in my view, if you're thinking about, I don't know, going to uni, getting a job. You must watch those sessions because it'll give you an enormous insight into what's coming. The third thing about Monash University is its international footprint, and it's unlike absolutely anything else in the group of 8 universities. So a group of 8, of course, are Australia's sandstone, most prestigious research innovative institutions, and Monash is the only group of 8 with full international branch campuses. More than that, Monash has literally been leading Australia's international engagement in the education space. This has been happening for decades. There's a campus in Malaysia that's been running since 1998, and there's one in Indonesia that opened in 2001. It's the first foreign-owned university in Indonesia. Alongside that, and this is something that I'm passionate about, they have the Prato Study Centre in Italy. This is your opportunity to go and have an international study experience in another country, Italy, come on, amazing, but where that experience seamlessly fits back into your degree. So if you're looking for a degree with genuinely global reach, where you could potentially study a semester in Kuala Lumpur or spend time in Prato in Italy, in Tuscany, Monash offers these opportunities in a way that most universities simply can't. And a little aside on that, I've got a whole session on having an international experience as part of your degree. It's one of the best things that you can do as part of uni, if you can make it happen. That's with Amy Ryan from the University of Sydney. You'll find that in the session catalogue as well. Now, I want to be honest. There are trade-offs. A university as big as Monash can feel impersonal. And the student satisfaction scores, which I'm going to get to later, reflect that. The Clayton campus, while it's comprehensive and extremely well equipped, isn't a buzzing inner city location. And competitive programs like medicine and law have entry requirements that are like seriously high. So we're talking about ATARs, that's your Australian Tertiary Admissions Rank, the percentile score out of 99.95 that most school leavers use for university entry. And that's typically above 95 for law and like 97 to 99 for medicine at Monash. Now, none of that should put you off because you do know what you're signing up for, but entry standards can be really high. I will talk a little bit more about pathways in a moment though for Monash because it does really well in pathway space. But let's first talk about academic research and strength and get into the details because it's one of the places where Monash is just literally mind-blowing. And let's start with those headline disciplines again. We talked about pharmacy and pharmaceuticals, 4th in the world and 1st in Australia. It also has not a lot of people know about this one, but the Parkville campus, which sits inside Melbourne's biomedical precinct, and which is one of Australia's most concentrated health research areas in not only Australia, but in fact the whole Southern Hemisphere. So if you're interested in pharmaceutical sciences and that kind of clinical research, there are very few places globally that can kind of cut it and compete as Monash. Education, I mentioned, 8th in the world, 1st in Australia. And you may, if you're thinking about teaching, that really matters, not just for the ranking, but because it signals the quality of research that's informing how you'll be trained. Now, another area which often gets a lot of attention at Monash is business and economics. And it's another powerhouse in this area. In finance, it ranks 25th globally and 1st in Australia. In economics, it sits 36th globally, but also 1st in Australia. And the business faculty is one of the areas where it's absolutely excellent. It's the largest faculty at Monash and where there's a lot of industry engagement, as we were talking about earlier. So those partnerships are incredibly strong. Also call out the postgraduate programs at Monash University. It's one of the few institutions where almost exclusively those postgraduate business programs are taught on campus. So it's not going to be for everyone, but the quality of those programs is exceptionally high and recognised across Australia. Let's move into the engineering and science areas because the offering at this institution is absolutely comprehensive. When it comes to mining and mining engineering and minerals, Monash is actually ranked number 1 in Australia. And in fact, across all of the engineering disciplines, Monash offers work integrated learning that connects you with industry on an incredible scale. On the research side of things, the Monash Biomedicine Discovery Institute is one of the major centres for cancer research, for neuroscience and genomics. The Monash Energy Institute focuses on sustainable energy solutions. And as I was talking about, the technology precinct isn't just a research facility, it's an innovation hub with startup incubators and accelerators. So if you're interested in building a business, which I highly recommend, getting skills at an institution like this is really invaluable. And in fact, we've got an exceptional session from Tori Tucker on how to start your own business and thinking about the mindset of becoming an entrepreneur. Details in the session catalogue, of course. Let's get into the different campuses because they are quite distinct, and I've mentioned several of the campuses. Clayton is the big one, 26,000 odd students, comprehensive facilities, and the research heartland. The facilities, the student environment, the clubs and societies are utterly extraordinary. The opportunities there are enormous. Caulfield is closer to the inner city and has a strong focus on business and the arts, design and architecture. The Peninsula campus specialises in health and education, and Parkville, as I was just talking about, that's the biomedical precinct. So it's where you've got that specialist pharmacy set up. There is a free shuttle between Clayton and Caulfield, which takes about 30 minutes. For most undergraduate students, Clayton is going to be your home base. And so many, 200 plus clubs and societies. There's 24/7 study spaces and the full range of campus infrastructure. Sporting facilities are excellent. But it's not a city campus. As I've talked about already, you got to take that train to Huntingdale, you got to get on a bus. That's kind of the reality. It's not super awesome accessible. There are 10 faculties in total. We've got art, design and architecture, arts, business and economics, education, engineering, IT, law, medicine, nursing and health sciences, the pharmacy and pharmaceutical sciences, and of course just a pure science faculty. So it's totally comprehensive, genuinely comprehensive. Whatever you're interested in, there's likely a faculty and a research community built around it. And that spells opportunity. If you're that kind of person that's keen to go out and explore and to look for your place in the world, you're going to find it at Monash. Now, I alluded to pathway options because getting into Monash with its entry requirements can be challenging depending on your background. And so the Monash College offers foundation and diploma programs that can directly transfer you into the second year of that first undergraduate degree. There's also what they call the Monash Guaranteed Scheme, and that adjusts entry requirements based on your life circumstances, particularly if you've had some disadvantages, if you come from a lower socioeconomic background or you've had other sorts of challenges. So Monash is looking to support students from all walks of life, not just those students from elite backgrounds who've had the advantages. We've got a whole session on how going to uni works and the support from the Australian government. You find that in the session catalogue. And honestly, this is one of the critical sessions to watch if you are a local Australian student. We talk through everything you need to know about how HEX works, the funding support available from the Australian government. That session is all about that, and I really recommend that you check that one out. Now, maybe let's just take another pause and hear from another student that has studied at Monash University. In fact, before we do that, I want to give you a fun fact about going to university. This is courtesy of Southern Cross University. Let's go over the fun fact, and then we're going to go straight into that experience from one of the students at Monash. Ben and Chloe, guys. Hey, thanks for chatting.
No worries.
What's it like studying here at Monash?
It's great. It's great.
Yeah,
Second
so
year
much
at the moment.
fun.
Loved
Yeah.
it.
Yeah?
So far.
Yeah,
Yourself?
it's great. Yeah, I love it. I'm second year too. I'm studying arts.
Nice.
And it's so much fun, having the best time. We're both on the Society of Art students actually.
Yeah, so we're getting into
we're getting right into
the
uni life.
extracurricular uni life.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the numbers. Firstly, student satisfaction at Monash. It's 73.1%. A little bit under every 3 in 4 students is satisfied with their experience at this university. That comes from the QUILT, the Quality Indicators for Learning and Teaching Survey, an Australian government initiative. It's independent. Hundreds of thousands of students respond, and also data from employers as well. So you can really trust that data. 73%, it actually puts Monash below the national average. And for a university of Monash's enormous international reputation, that's kind of underwhelming. But context really matters when it comes to these statistics. Large research-intensive universities, like the Uni of Melbourne and University of New South Wales, also score lowly on overall student satisfaction. Melbourne, 73%, UNSW even lower, at just under 72%. So the pattern's consistent. The bigger the institution, the more research-focused it is, the less personal the experience tends to feel. It doesn't mean that the education is worse. It just means that the experience is different. Good chance you're going to have classes with somebody who's doing their doctoral degree. They're studying and doing research at the same time. But does that mean that they're necessarily the best teacher? Perhaps not. Those huge classes and class sizes also means you're going to have to be more proactive. You're in huge classes in some cases, and that means if you're not like going out of your way to have, to look for different opportunities and experiences, they aren't necessarily going to come and tap you on the shoulder. However, let's look at graduate employment. And at 82% of domestic students, local Australians, finding full-time work within 4 months of finishing, that's a strong result. It puts Monash at the top of Victoria for graduate employment, and nationally, it's ahead of most of the group of 8 universities. The industry placement model that I mentioned earlier, those 10,000 odd industry experiences per year, that's doing the real heavy lifting here. Employers value the Monash label on a resume. That also shows up in the median graduate salary, and at $73,000, Monash is above the group of 8 average and comfortably above the national median for starting salaries. What that reflects is Monash's strengths in business, engineering, and health sciences, and these are jobs and careers that typically have good starting salaries, and Monash performs highly. Let's look at the global rankings now, and Monash sits at 36th globally in the QS World Rankings, which puts it 5th in Australia. In the Times Higher Ed, it's ranked 58th globally and equal 3rd in Australia alongside the University of Melbourne and the University of Sydney. So these are elite global positions on any measure. But what I'll say is that global rankings tends to measure some stuff that may not be relevant to you. They measure things like research output, how much that research has been cited by other academics, and things like international reputation. What they don't rank is, what you're going to experience in your Tuesday morning tutorial in terms of teaching quality and the like. So what you do need to do is look at those international rankings, and there are some good ones. If you look at subject-specific rankings, that's genuinely helpful information. But the global number itself, honestly, I don't give it too much importance, unless you are literally looking for that prestige factor. And that's okay. If that's what's important to you, that's important to you. In which case, Monash does perform really highly. But what you can do to evaluate all of those numbers and actually find the numbers that are relevant to you is use the Choosing Your Uni platform. We're an independent platform. It's free. It takes under 30 seconds for you to sign up for it, and allows you to literally ask our AI agent Lumen about your particular circumstances, what matters for you, and to get independent advice based on your interests, preferences, and goals, all in one place, not endless Google searches. Now, if I were looking at Monash, I wouldn't be evaluating this institution alone, I'd be looking at some others. So let's look at those comparison points. The first is, of course, the University of Melbourne, and I think that most students that are looking at one are probably looking at the other. They're both Group of 8 universities, they're both in Melbourne, they're both globally ranked, but they're sort of structured differently. Firstly, the degree structure. The Uni of Melbourne has what's called the Melbourne model, and that's a model where you first do a broad undergraduate degree followed by a specialised graduate professional program. So if you're looking to study like law or medicine, at Melbourne, you first have to do an undergraduate degree before going into a graduate program in those spaces. Now that's awesome if you want to explore, if you want to have more depth to your academic background, but Monash, by contrast, offers direct entry professional programs at the undergraduate level, and that's a substantial difference. It's a substantial difference in how you spend your time and how long it takes you to get through. Uni of Melbourne ranks higher globally, but has lower graduate employment numbers and a lower median salary than Monash. Monash, as we've talked about, it's bigger, it's more industry connected, and it gets you into your professional disciplines earlier, as well as having those global campuses we talked about. Although Melbourne does, I must say, as an aside, does have an extremely good international study opportunity program too. Melbourne Abroad, and we'll talk all about that in that dedicated session about studying as part of uni, studying abroad. The next one that's an obvious point of comparison, and chances are you'd be thinking about it too if you're prepared to move interstate, is the University of New South Wales. It's the nearest equivalent in terms of being a large, research-intensive Group of 8 with awesome engineering, business and science. It's a similar scale, and it's a similar global ranking tier. It's also very similar in terms of that innovation, the industry connectedness. But of course, the big difference here is Sydney versus Melbourne, all right? Sydney is Australia's largest jobs market, but it's also Australia's most expensive city. It's one of the most expensive cities in the whole world. Makes me cry. Melbourne, on the other hand, has that cultural element that we talk about. Not that Sydney is not cultural, it's incredibly multicultural and lots of different opportunities, but Melbourne has that cultural flair that maybe sometimes Sydney misses out on. So those are two things you might need to think about. Third, I want to throw you a bit of a curveball here, and that's Curtin University over in Perth. Curtin isn't a Group of 8, but if what draws you to Monash is that industry integration, practical career focus, strong engineering, strong technology, Curtin offers a very similar philosophy at a slightly smaller scale. It's got fantastic employment outcomes and a lower cost of living. In the mining area, it's one of the best in the world as well. And so if you're looking for that career connected model and you're not so fussed about the Group of 8 brand, then Curtin could be worth a look. Also, look, super broadly, this is my last one. If you're thinking of moving interstate as well, Adelaide University, the newly formed institution that has brought together the University of South Australia and University of Adelaide. Adelaide Uni, the new entity, covers basically every single discipline. It's a research powerhouse and it has a footprint that encompasses the entire Adelaide city and South Australian regions as well. So depending on your field of study, Adelaide Uni, I reckon, is a really interesting sideways option to have a look at. All right, I've got a couple of minutes to take some questions. I've got some questions there, but what I'd like to do is to start with those ones that have been submitted in advance. Thank you to those people who took the time to send in their questions in advance via our survey. Let's talk about Monash. Here we go. Monash's Clayton campus is massive. Is it easy to feel lost there, especially in first year? The short answer is probably yes. If you're looking for an intimate campus environment, small class size and everything, this ain't it. Even I've been in higher ed for 25 years, I walk onto Monash and I'm like, wow, this place is big. It feels big, which may feel scary to you to begin with. The but, and you've got to look at the upside here. The but is that the number of opportunities you have there is genuinely mind-blowing. If you're interested in exploring and discovering, opening doors, this is a university that has as many, if not more opportunities than any other university in the country. And so I think it's definitely worth considering in that regard. But you are going to have to get out of your comfort zone, join some clubs and societies, get involved in study groups, and make sure that when you go into those first year classes, you might have massive lectures with 1,000 people, but you'll also have smaller tutorials. That's your place to try and connect with individuals in your course and try and find your people. So at an institution like Monash, clubs and societies, tutorials, they become even more important in my view. This is a general question, but I think it's such a good question and so common for so many people, including not just young people, but people who are much, much older too. This is from Tani, who asked, everyone tells me to follow my passion, but I don't really have one. Is that a problem? No. You know what? I honestly think that this whole follow your passion thing is completely overdone. If I'm really honest, it's like 1% of people have genuinely figured out that thing that absolutely lights them up, particularly when you're young. Almost nobody is just like, this is exactly what I want to do and who I am and what I'm going to become. It's incredibly rare. And honestly, you got to think about this. A lot of people who say, I want to become a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer or whatever, a lot of that might be their parents talking or family history talking. You've got to be honest with yourself about who you are, what you're interested in and what you want, okay? Choosing a uni platform, great place to start exploring fields of studies. We've got tools there, AI-powered tools to help you discover things that you might be interested in. But you're not broken if you haven't figured it out yet. Most people who become passionate about something, I'm pointing at me because I'm passionate about helping people find their direction. I didn't know that out of high school. I didn't even know it in the first 5 years of my degree, my first 5 years of my career. Most people will tell you that you find what you love by getting skills and experience in things that you enjoy. So, don't put pressure on yourself if you haven't figured that out yet. Even if you're like, older, you're going back as a mature age student, you've had a career before, life is about exploration. Go to uni, open doors, try different things, join different clubs, do elective subjects outside your field of study. And when you find something, walk through that door and do a little bit more of it. And that's how, step by step, we eventually find the thing that truly lights us up and the place in the world where we can create an impact. I'm going to end rant on that. I'm just really passionate about you finding what lights you up. Thank you for joining me in this session about Monash University. If you've got questions, questions I haven't got to, I can see, I'll be answering all of those in the Choosing Your Uni Discord and in the Facebook community for parents, so make sure you jump in those, and I'll see you at another session during the National Virtual Expo. Thanks for joining me. Well, I hope you got something out of this session, and if you have any questions at all, you can head to choosingyouruni.com and ask Lumen. Lumen is your AI guide who knows about every university, every pathway, every option that we've talked about throughout this virtual expo, and Lumen is available to talk to you 24/7, so it's ready when you are.